night, little hunter. Yes, I'm aware, but the moon is rising. Good morning is inappropriate for the time of day. I think you're just looking for an excuse to be argumentative with me. Are you starting to adjust to being nocturnal? How long have you been awake? Ah, you're doing quite well then. Sorry to ask you to adjust your sleep schedule, but unfortunately I'm incapable of adjusting mine. Oh, you don't know why? That's why I told you we need somewhere sheltered during the day, when humans can't find us. It's well known to vampire hunters, which I take to mean that you truly aren't one. Vampires enter a defenseless state during the hours of sunrise and sunset. We've overcome with exhaustion and it's impossible to fight in that state. We go back to looking like any other human corpse. Well, aside from the fangs and red eyes. That's quite fair, I'm telling you, because I don't fear you. Oh, you could kill me if you wanted to, but you could do that while I'm awake. And even if we weren't on a truce to locate your friend, I really don't think you would. Simple. You don't hold that look of malice in your eyes. The coldness and the jaded expression of the handful of hunters I met in my time isn't even close to your face. Your eyes are softer and gentle. I'd be more frightened of a rabid kitten. It's not an insult. No need to take it as such. Gentleness is a good thing. It's a rarity among humans, and vampires for that matter. The world is so dark and hateful. It gives me hope to see humans with eyes like yours. And you're willing to walk right into the nest of what you consider your enemy for someone you love. While it may not have been the sensible thing, I think it's truly wonderful. Is my capacity for emotional expression really that surprising to you? It's not so hard to find beauty in the world even after I'm technically gone from it. It inspires emotion in me. I've always thought a poetic death is beautiful, but nothing compares to the stunning simplicity of a blooming rose, or the moon and stars reflecting over a lake. I may be undead by definition, but I've never felt more and lived more than I have like this. I'm not sure the way I feel is something I can put into words for you, but if I had to try, I say I'd feel serene. Of course, there's pressure to protect my colony, but for the most part, this immortal queen is enjoying the most wondrous peace she's ever known. It doesn't bother me. I don't need to drink a lot of blood, and I'm not killing anyone to do so, and therefore it's hardly even an inconvenience. The only thing I really miss is being able to feel warm. Now that what little blood is my own is left in my body doesn't flow, and my heart doesn't beat, my internal temperature is that of a true corpse. You do stop noticing it for the most part eventually, but by sitting by the fire, it always reminds me of what I've lost. Although what I've gained, I say it's a fair exchange. Come, human. I'd like to show you something. No need to be afraid. When I mentioned stars on the lake earlier, I had a specific place in mind. In all the time I've been around living and dead, no place I've been is more alluring than this. Here we are. What do you think, human? Yes, it truly looks like the universe has found its way down to Earth on the surface of this lake, doesn't it? I adore this view, but I can't help but wonder what it would look like in the daytime. Oh well, most people miss out on the night's beauty. I'm just grateful to get to enjoy things like this. Yes, most people overlook the night, don't they? Humans have to sleep sometimes, and that means there will always be a part of the world's wonders that they miss. It's a shame, really. Come, sit with me. I could stay out here forever. Tell me, do you spend much time outdoors like this? It can be difficult in the cities of today. Well, maybe this will change your mind. Did you grow up in the heart of a modern city? I'm afraid I find myself quite frantic around that many people. When I still walked among humans, there was nowhere near as many humans as there are now. I believe, according to today's estimates, in my time, humans were still in the millions. Oh my, how the times have changed. Well, it was a very long time ago. I can't say I remember very much. I mean, you try shifting through a few hundred years worth of memories. It's a lot to think about. That makes me wonder, how old are you, human? Cold and vague as ever, I see. Though you may be warmed up to a bit more by now, but alas. Oh, I wouldn't say I care, necessarily. But it would be nice to have a guest who isn't so hostile whenever I ask a question. Speaking of questions, I'm sure you have a few about my little investigation. Well, over the last few days, I've contacted them and asked about the human you described to me. It was difficult to ask questions with no foundations. Vampire lords are suspicious by nature, and I am not in very good standing with them. But, regardless, I have a friend who is a bit more sway than I do and had him speak to some of the more aloof of the colony rulers. So I'm quite sure all the information I gained is accurate as possible. Oh, the long and short of it is, if a vampire made a meal of your companion, it was not a vampire from a colony. It's possible, though, the vampire who has chosen to strike out on their own is responsible. I would say it's unlikely. A vampire on their own tends to stay away from the colonies. Are you absolutely certain a vampire is responsible? All right, I believe you. In that case, we're forced to turn to human society for the remainder of our search. Which your knowledge of the human world and my knowledge of vampires, I like to think we have at least some advantage. Oh? Why wouldn't I still help you? Just because we'll be hunting in the world of the living doesn't mean it's still a vampire issue. If there's another creature like myself out there this close to my territory, it is most certainly my problem and my responsibility. It could affect the safety of my colony. That, and I've begun this mission. I'd very much like to see it through to the end. Oh, do I need your permission to cross the boundary back to your side of the world? Then please, you who aspire to hunt my kind to extinction, may I return to your cities and walk among your people one last time? I am looking for a missing human who may be in danger, so I've been told, and I would greatly like to see them make a swift and safe return. Would that be all right with you, O great guardian of the living? I'll take that as a yes, then. Well, then, I'll be happy to help you, my friend. Oh, please. There are plenty of historical people who have become friends despite being on opposite sides of their wars. Why should this be any different? I have respect for you, and you've reminded me there are still good humans out there. Yes, that may be so, but if you do kill me, I don't believe it would be from a malice intent. Call me a bleeding heart, but I have empathy for those fighting for causes they believe in, even if it's counter to my own. I am sure if a human's gender could eradicate a threat, it would. It's unfair to judge you for doing the same when you have the awareness to do so. Oh yes, I've been called strange before. But in any case, I'm glad to have met you, my friend. I promise, we will find who you're looking for. Perhaps then you'll hate me slightly less? Come now, no time to waste. I'll inform my subjects I'll be leaving for a time. I have a few advisors whom it's going to take some convincing to let me leave the castle. Oh, I can only do as I please to a certain degree. My advisors are quite protective of me, and they know how weak my body is. I was unwell as a child in life, and I remained that way until I died. But oh well, no more codes for me. Just considerably low strength and stamina. It's interesting what follows you into death and what doesn't, isn't it? Yes, I spent most of my time inside. Back in my days, I say, it was considerably easy to catch an illness and much more difficult to cure it. So my family kept me confined in the house. It does make me appreciate what I have now more than I otherwise would have, though. Careful now. If you say things like that, I might start to think you have some sympathy for me. Oh, I'm only teasing. I wouldn't dare to presume. I must say I'm looking forward to this new chapter of my own life. However brief it may be, it will always be a little exciting to venture into the unknown, and with a human as my guide, no less. It might even be fun. We'll have to sort out how to keep me out of the way when I fall asleep in the daytime, but otherwise it should be relatively simple. I'll discuss those details with my advisors once I convince them it's safe for me to leave with you. They're still very wary since you're fairly new to them. Well, of course I'm not. You're my friend, after all. Once we reach the castle, return by chambers, and I'll meet you there with the specifics of my travel plans. Does it sound acceptable to you? All right, then. Our minds are made up, then. Let's go find your friend, human.